So we are going to read about preeclampsia screening. This preeclampsia or raised BP during pregnancy, it leads to around 8 maternal death per minute in the world. So it is very important topic. You cannot skip this. Preeclampsia is the second most common cause of maternal death in Kerala, and mainly severe preeclampsia. Then we have multimodal screening for preeclampsia, first trimester multimodal screening model for preeclampsia, where we deals with maternal biodemography and biomarkers. Biomarkers include biophysical markers and biochemical markers. So in first trimester, maternal demographic markers that we consider are maternal age, maternal race, and maternal BMI. Biomarkers included biomarkers. Biophysical markers means the markers that we see in an ultrasound scan, and it includes mean arterial pressure, uterine artery, PI. While biochemical markers includes what? PAPE and beta HCG. No. These biomarkers are for aneuploidy screening. For preeclampsia screening, which biomarker we use? PLGF. PLGF is platelet-derived growth factor. So prediction of preeclampsia. Prediction of preeclampsia is explained by competing risk factor approach model, and it was based on Bayes theorem. It combines all the factors for risk prediction, gives personalized risk for every individual, and it describes prediction of preeclampsia at any gestational age. So there are two phenotypes in preeclampsia, that is preterm preeclampsia and term preeclampsia. What is preterm preeclampsia? Preterm preeclampsia is a preeclampsia that sets before 37 weeks of gestation, and if preeclampsia occurs after 37 weeks of gestation, then this is known as term preeclampsia. Preterm preeclampsia has significant or strong association with defective placentation, while maternal factors contribute more towards term preeclampsia. Management is more difficult in preterm preeclampsia as baby is premature, so there is a confusing situation between continuing the pregnancy or deliver a preterm baby. While term preeclampsia is less difficult to manage, where already lung maturity has been attained, so we can deliver these babies and can save the life of the baby as well as the mother. According to NICE guidelines and ACOG guidelines, if you use for the prediction of preeclampsia based on ACOG guideline, the detection rate of preterm preeclampsia is only 5%, while NICE guidelines detect around 40% these preterm preeclampsia cases, but this number is associated with higher false positive rates. So biomarkers, what are the biomarkers of defective placentation? It includes MAP or mean arterial pressure, uterine artery pulsatility index, and PLGF or placenta-like growth factor. So what is the pathogenesis of preeclampsia? Can anyone tell? Yes, there is defective trophoblastic invasion. What is defective trophoblastic invasion? This abnormal trophoblast, if coats the spiral arteries, then there is poor remodeling of spiral artery, and if spiral arteries are poorly remodeled, then there is poor placental angiogenesis, and placenta is not perfused properly, leading to placental ischemia infarction, which releases pro-inflammatory proteins into the maternal circulation, and these pro-inflammatory proteins destroys maternal normal endothelium and leads to endothelial dysfunction, causing raised BP or pregnancy-induced hypertension. So this is the pathogenesis of preeclampsia. So this mean arterial pressure is raised in these situations, and if it is raised, then it denotes endothelial dysfunction. Uterine artery PI denotes placental remodeling, and placenta-like growth factor assesses placental angiogenesis. So, first trimester multimodal screening for preeclampsia includes maternal demography, MAP, uterine artery PI, and PLGF. So, these mean arterial pressure in uterine PI is increased, while the biomarker PLGF, which is a good placenta-like growth factor, promotes angiogenesis. It is decreased in patients with risk of preterm preeclampsia or preeclampsia. High PI, low PLGF, high MAP. There is high risk of preeclampsia. Multimodal screening algorithm is superior to ACOG and NICE guidelines, 75% overall detection rate, and there is 90% detection rate in preterm preeclampsia. So what parameters are included in maternal demography? As we have already described, maternal age, maternal BMI and race are included. Other than these factors, there are certain other factors also which are included. Maternal age, there is risk increased every 10 years above 30 years. So if female is 30 year of age, if the risk is 2 times, then risk is increased every 10 years above 30 years. So if 40 years, at 40 years the risk is more. Weight increases every 10 kg above 70 kg. Racial Afro-Caribbean or South Asian females are more prone. Obstetric history, first pregnancy, previous history of preeclampsia, even family history of preeclampsia, if conceived through IVF or in vitro fertilization, chronic hypertension, history of diabetes mellitus, autoimmune conditions like SLE and APS or antiphospholipid antibody syndromes are also associated with preeclampsia. Then what is the association with mean arterial pressure? Mean arterial pressure is measured at 11 to 13 weeks of gestation. Mean arterial pressure is diastolic pressure plus 1/3 of pulse pressure. And what is pulse pressure? Systolic minus diastolic blood pressure. So MAP is equal to diastolic blood pressure plus 1/3 of pulse pressure. It is used to predict the risk of preeclampsia, and the device used to measure mean arterial pressure must be a validated automated device. And what is the method of measuring BP? Women is rested for 5 minutes with arms supported at the level of the heart. Cuff size should be standard cuff size for a normal female, that is 22 to 32 centimeters. And if female arm is small, then we use a small cuff size, that is less than 22 centimeters, and larger cuff size is used in obese females depending on the mid arm circumference of the mother. BP is taken in both arms. Take average of 2 measurements after taking BP in each arm. So this second parameter is mean arterial pressure. Now third parameter. So third parameter is uterine artery PI, which is measured at 11 to 13 weeks of gestation through transabdominal scan. So here we identify the uterine arteries, sagittal section of the cervix. We know that the uterine arteries lie parallel to the cervix as they ascend upwards. So this is the cervix. Okay, we place the probe perpendicular and fix it in the midline, then slowly tilt toward the side. We want to measure the uterine artery pulsatility index. Arteries at the level of the arteries measurement are taken at the level of internal os. Sampling gate of 2 mm to cover the whole vessel. Angle of insonation is, so this is an MCQ question. Sampling gate is 2 mm to cover whole vessel. Angle of insonation is less than 30 degree, and the peak systolic velocity is more than 60 centimeters per second, because the blood flow rate in uterine artery is more than 60 centimeter per second. So through this we can also detect uterine artery. So what is mean PI? Mean PI is an average PI which is taken on both, which is calculated after taking the values on both sides, right artery PI, left artery pulsatility index, and divided by 2. So according to ISUOG, for performing first trimester fetal USG scan, pulsatility index is superior to resistivity index or uterine artery notching, because pulsatility index is more stable. It can be used in the absence of diastolic values or reversal of diastolic values. Notching subjective feature with low specificity and may be observed in only 50% patients at 11 to 14 weeks of gestation. So this PI is more stable and can be used in absent or reversed flows. Next parameter is PLGF. PLGF is placental-like growth factor, which is a pro-angiogenic factors. It stimulates trophoblast growth, and if it is low in concentration, then it denotes abnormal placentation. It can be used at 9 to 11 weeks before disease clinically manifests. So this is an online risk calculator where we can add the pregnancy type, whether singleton or twin pregnancy, pregnancy dating, CRL of the baby, examination date, maternal parameters like date of birth of female. This calculates the age of the female, height, weight, racial origin, smoking, mother with history of preeclampsia, conception period, medical history, chronic hypertension, diabetes mellitus, SLE, APS, and obstetric history where there is history of preeclampsia or nulliparous female or parous female. Biophysical measurements includes uterine artery PI, mean arterial pressure, and the date of measurement. Biochemical measurements includes PLGF and the date of measurements in multiples of meridian. It is calculated. So this is an online risk calculator. We can download this and put all the values in toto and calculate the risk of preterm preeclampsia in this female. So what is the method of screening? If we use maternal factors like age of the mother, height of the mother, BMI of the mother, and racial origin, obstetric history, family history, conception by IVS, chronic hypertension, diabetes mellitus, and presence of SLE or APS, then at 34, less than 34 weeks of gestation, the predictive or rate or detection rate is 53% and it is 45% at less than 37. If we add mean arterial pressure in the maternal factors, then it is increased from 53 to 61 and 45 to 51. If uterine PI is also added along with these parameters, then 83% and 68%. And if PLGF is used instead of uterine artery PI, then rate is slightly lower. So uterine PI is more important. And if all these factors along with maternal factors are added, then detection rate of less than 34 weeks of gestation, that is preterm preeclampsia, is 90% and term preeclampsia is 75%. So we have already studied this trial. This is an ASPER project. This project is used to detect screening of preeclampsia. Here, groups are divided into two groups. In the first group, we diagnose the risk of preterm preeclampsia through maternal demography, biophysical and biochemical markers, and those females at high risk of developing preterm preeclampsia are taken and divided into two groups. In group 1, we give aspirin to prevent the risk of preterm preeclampsia, and placebo is given in group 2, and then we do comparing of the groups. So one group was given 150 milligram of aspirin, another group was put on placebo. Result was women given aspirin was benefited. Dose of 150 milligram per day is taken because it is associated with reduced resistance. Only 5% resistance is seen at this dose, while 30% resistance is seen at 81 milligrams dose. And this dose is given bedtime, as most thrombotic events occur in the morning, early morning, and it if given at bedtime, it lowers the risk of preeclampsia, fetal growth restriction, preterm birth, intrauterine death. Peak thrombotic events occur at 2 a.m. night. That's why this dose is given bedtime. It is started at 12 weeks of gestation because placenta unaffected beyond 16 weeks if given after 16 weeks of pregnancy. And it is stopped at 36 weeks because near term there is high risk of hemorrhage in the neonate if aspirin is given. So we stop it at 36 weeks of gestation. Outcome is aspirin delays development of preeclampsia by 4 to 6 weeks. Hence preterm preeclampsia, or it delays preeclampsia. Now, if uterine artery Doppler is used alone for prediction, detection rate is around 50% in early preeclampsia and 25% in all preeclampsias. Uterine PI is hence not preferred as a standalone test and should preferably be incorporated into combined multifactorial screening model. Reasons not in support of prescribing aspirin universally. So, one question arises here that if aspirin is preventing preeclampsia, then we can offer aspirin in all patients. Then why don't offer aspirin in every patient? The reason is safety. There is risk of upper